I'm really excited for the energies this week. The energy this week feels like integration energy. Like the first part of the week, it could just feel like business as usual. We're trucking along. Things are coming up. We're gaining new awarenesses. We're learning new things in very like micro ways. I always think about as you're going about playing the long game to reach some sort of goal, there's all these little pivots and turns we make along the way. But then sometimes those pivots and those turns, they end up turning into this giant breakthrough, like a much bigger awakening in how you go about reaching the goal. Like a huge pivot. That's what this week feels like. It feels like trucking along, editing little things, gaining awareness, and then the pivot comes, the illumination. And this is the last week Uranus is in Taurus, and Taurus is the sign of playing the long game. Taurus is a sensual sign, which I fucking love. Like, if I think Taurus, I think of nature and quality over quantity. That's a big theme for these N degrees of Uranus and Taurus. And that could be part of all these micro lessons you're learning this week. You're learning lessons around your value, your self-worth. It's a lot of relational themes coming up, what truly causes balance and harmony in your life. For a long time now, as a society, we have overcomplicated life. I go to my mailbox, I open up my mailbox, and I get 3 letters from the same company saying the same exact thing. Why did I have a full mailbox? Most of those letters were repeat. Most of those letters I just threw out. And that is just a mirror of what happens in our day-to-day life. We've overcomplicated our day-to-day life where we think that we need to do all of these things to find success. You start a successful business. Oh, I have to get in all the Facebook groups and I have to do all this and I have to do all that. It's like, how can I do more? We were taught more is more. Well, at these final degrees of Uranus and Taurus, this is what I've been noticing, is it's really the universe is like, it's not more is more anymore. It's quality over quantity. And it's also understanding that you cannot control life through excess. That also reminds me of how people just want to have billions of dollars and a lot of money because they think that if they had a lot of money, they would feel safe. They would be in control of life. Having an excess of something makes them in control. Well, newsflash, having an excess of something, and this is what I've been noticing with Uranus and Taurus, this is what I've been learning, is that having an excess of something is not better. It's just an excess of something. If anything, it can cloud your mind. It pulls you away from your soul truth, which your soul truth is quite simple, very simple. That's the premises that Uranus and Taurus is waking us up to, that if we want to find success and love and feel good in our lives, it's about simplification, not overcomplicating. And we overcomplicate our lives anytime we try to control it. And the reason for that, when I look at my own life, is whenever I try to control something, there's more thoughts in my head. There's more plans I have to think out. There's more steps. I find more roadblocks. Because often when I'm trying to control a situation, I'm anticipating a problem and I'm coming at that situation from that problem energy. And what it's doing is it's keeping me in that complicated cycle because I'm building from complication. It creates more complication. I have to continue with the complication. Well, this week, a really good thing to keep in mind, this is what I'm keeping in mind, is what do I really value? And is all of this other stuff that I'm doing truly important to me? Or am I just doing it to keep myself safe, to feel in control? And this could be in relation to relationships too. So here's an example. It takes a lot for me to let someone into my life, and this is a breakthrough I recently had. So because it takes so much for me to want to allow someone into my close circle and to be good friends with them, I then hold high standards for people in my life. It's why it's very hard to get into my inner circle, right? These standards. Well, if I start to see a friend is not living in alignment with those standards, I would try to control. And the reason I have these standards is because I don't want to be hurt. I want my life to be a certain way. I want to control my life to make sure my life is at this standard. These things don't happen to me. So because I don't want these things to happen to me, this is the standards that I live by, that I allow people into my life by, and what they must live by. Well, the second my friend doesn't live up to one of those standards and they make a mistake in their life and they haven't learned the lesson yet, this is a lesson I recently learned, I would then call them forward. And I thought I was doing them a favor, but I realize now it was coming from a wound and trying to control them. I would call them forward and be like, that's not who you are. That's not how we behave. We don't lie to people or cheat on people or do shitty things to people, for example. And I would say, if you don't own up to that, we can't be friends anymore. Well, in the past, I thought that that was me holding a certain standard. What I realized recently was that was me controlling other people and not being accepting of other people and their mistakes, not hearing them out, not gently guiding them towards, I'll still be here with you. I know you're this person. Like holding someone to a high standard in my brain, holding myself to unconditional love is really what I'm getting at. And because I'm so quick to cut people out, I actually was cutting off unconditional love from my life. I was making it harder to be present. I was controlling all of my relationships. And so a recent breakthrough I had was I don't need to cut people off the second they don't do something in alignment with my values. I can love them. I can always love them. And I can take note and I can reflect to them their highest self. But giving them an ultimatum, I realized recently that that was blocking love for everyone, for them, for me, and it wasn't helpful for them or for me. And so that's what I mean by I realized I was overcomplicating my relationships by trying to control and set all these random standards, and all I had to do was just love them. And the more I love and accept other people, the more I love and accept myself, and the less I need to control. So this breakthrough that we're having this week is coming from that angle. And it's happening in Venus themes in your life. And that's because on Friday, Venus and Taurus will meet up finally with Uranus and Taurus. And they're at that final degree because Uranus is about to move out, like we just talked about. And Venus is the planet of our relationships, of love, beauty, our values, and self-worth. But it's also about how we go about receiving. And what Venus and Taurus wants is it wants you to choose quality over quantity. It wants you to choose presence and peace over control. It wants you to, yes, keep your values and standards. That's going to help you weed out quality over quantity. But it doesn't want you to control a situation or person to force those values and standards onto the situation, because your values and standards are for you. And it's about surrendering into unconditional love, trust, and faith, and understanding that it's not about getting something right. It's not about getting a relationship right, getting how you go about making money right. It's not about needing to solve any problem through control. The energy you approach that problem from, or problem in quotation marks, we don't really have problems. And in my experience, when we try to solve a quote unquote problem from problem energy, we just, again, create more problem energy. And so what it's showing us is surrender into unconditional love. Surrender into the present moment, surrender into the unknown, and really ground yourself and feel into what makes me happy? What feels good? What feels expansive in my body? You know, problem solving always feels contracting, no matter what you do, unless you're solving a Sudoku puzzle and you're having the best time ever. Often when people are trying to solve a problem, it causes a contraction in the body. That's that lower vibration of Virgo that we're shedding. And that's really going to start in the beginning of the week on Monday, because on Monday, the moon will be in Virgo and it's going to cross the south node. Whenever the moon crosses the south node, we're shedding something from the past. The moon is our past. And Virgo wants to be right. It wants to be in control. It wants to better things, improve things. It wants to be perfect. It wants to make sure it gets into all the details and got everything correct and right. But the moon is how we find safety. It's our subjective view of reality. It's how we feel safe and at home. It's a soul connection. And so we start off the week with shedding this old way of how we used to make ourselves feel safe. So if you used to make yourself feel safe by controlling every little detail, Monday could be a great opportunity to surrender a little bit more and come into presence and trust that the more you feel peace, the more you'll create more peace in your life, and that you don't have to micromanage everything with your mind, is what I would say. As we move into Tuesday, the moon is going to move into Libra, and it will immediately oppose Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So what this is going to do is Saturn and Neptune in Aries are helping us build this new Earth, but we can't do it too quickly. Saturn does not like to be in Aries because Aries wants to move fast, and Saturn wants you to do things correct. It wants you to do things right. It wants you to find balance and harmony within yourself. And so with the moon opposing Saturn in Aries, there could be this desire to move forward quickly, to solve the problem, to take matters into your own hands and just force it to come out a certain way. But this opposition to the moon in Libra, it's like really lean into what feels like balance in your life. If you're feeling overextended right now and you're just going to continue to overextend yourself to solve this problem because you have to charge forward head first and you can't take rest, that might not be the answer. Tuesday is about coming into balance with meeting your needs, with your feelings, with how you feel, and merging your feeling body, how emotionally safe and secure you feel with the action you take, with how you assert yourself. It's finding that new balance between you and the outside world. So if I think about on Monday, how the moon in Virgo was going to move over the south node and we're shedding this old way of needing to control our reality and work extra hard, Tuesday is about, okay, how can I come from peace and not control? How can I move through my life with grace? Because also on Tuesday, the moon in Libra will trine Pluto in Aquarius. That's a harmonious aspect to the death and rebirth planet. And Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto tends to like to control when it's not healed. And that's what we're dealing with right now. That's what we're healing, is control around fitting in, control around belonging, control around reaching our hopes and dreams. Well, when the moon in Libra trines it, the opportunity on Tuesday is to break free from this impulsivity you may be feeling, or maybe even feeling like you have to do it all on your own, in realizing that you can surrender and you can lean on support. Realizing that you don't have to control every step of the way towards your hopes and dreams. And actually, the more present you are, the more you slow down, back to the Uranus and Taurus themes we're having a breakthrough of, the more you take your time and return back to nature, because you are nature. You don't have to move too quickly. You can have that powerful transformation between the moon in Libra and Pluto in Aquarius. This is also a really nice energy on Tuesday to have clearing conversations with someone. If you're feeling like things are off, the vibes are off in a relationship, Tuesday could be a really good day for you guys to have that conversation. And both gain empowerment, both gain some deep healing. Pluto likes to excavate really deep. So it could be that opportunity to have that deep conversation to address a truth that maybe needs to be addressed in a relationship in order for you guys to get to that higher expression of the relationship, or for you at least to just feel free for you to feel like it's okay to be your authentic self. That was something me and one of my best friends talked about this weekend, actually. We had to have a clearing conversation. There was like little tiffs that have happened throughout this year between us, and we were holding on to things, and we both kind of ended up in this space where we felt like we couldn't be ourselves. And I could feel it off myself, and I could feel it from her. And so we had a conversation on Friday, and I just shared my vulnerable truth with her and took accountability for how I felt. And then I asked her how she was feeling. And what it came down to was we both felt like we couldn't be ourselves. We were going to be judged for it, rejected for it, abandoned for it. And so we both made a promise and a pact that we will accept each other for this thing that the opposite person has. So there's a conversation like that available for you on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday is an interesting day because we have only aspects to the moon in Libra, but they're challenging aspects to both Jupiter in Cancer and the sun in Cancer. So by midweek, this is where I feel like some of that breakthrough energy is building, and it could be coming with this new way you're relating. Maybe you have a clearing conversation on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, now you're relating differently to this friend, and you're awkwardly trying to find your new way of relating now that you had this clearing conversation. That could be that energy on Wednesday. But the square to Jupiter and the sun in Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer is trying to expand our sense of home within ourselves. It's wanting us to feel emotionally settled and fulfilled. It wants to meet our own needs. It wants to feel safe. But with the square to moon in Libra, this safety is coming by owning who we are more. It's not coming from people pleasing anymore, or keeping little secrets to ourselves and not speaking up only to ruminate on something that happened in a relationship, and then we just feel worse and worse and we feel like crap, and then we get this whole diluted view of what happened in the relationship. Wednesday is about breaking free from that, breaking free from this passive aggressive weird stuff where you don't have clarity, and being more direct with people, being willing to be more direct, being willing to find your new footing in this new relationship where you choose yourself and you're not just being passive or not saying anything, or I'll call it pussyfooting around a conversation. You know, I feel like whenever we have these clearing conversations with people, if that's what happens for you this week, you have to then move forward with a new sense of trust in the relationship that you really will go forward with how you decided to be, even if that's not how your relationship was in the past. Cancer is about the past. I think about me and Ryan's relationship. The first 4 or 5 years of a relationship, we had an amazing relationship. But then when we got to year 4 or 5, it got a little rocky. I didn't love myself. I remember I was nitpicking him and like shitting on him in my head all the time. We hit a real rock bottom. And we had to come into a new way of relating. And that started with me having to deprogram my brain from looking at all the things he was doing wrong to reprogramming my brain to noticing all the things he does right. And it felt awkward. It felt uncomfortable. It was really easy for me to fall into old habits and continue to shit on him in my head. But once I got through that and I anchored into this new way of being myself and relating to him, we entered a honeymoon phase again. And now it's been 3 years and we're still in the honeymoon phase and we're better than ever. And so that's kind of what I feel like Wednesday feels like. It feels like a transition in your life. You're like awkwardly stepping into this new you that's in relationship with something in your external reality. Thursday can feel a little bit achy, but that's just because the moon in Libra is going to oppose Chiron in Aries, and Chiron is our collective wound, and in Aries, it's the collective wound around self. So you could just be feeling a little achy around self, achy around finding this balance between you and others, achy around like, can I really do this? Can I really be this person? Are people going to stay in my life if I continue to anchor into who I am? That's something that could be coming up for you. Because the moon in Libra wants to be in relationship. It feels good connecting with other people. It wants to consider other people, but can also be very other people focused. It can almost like need balance and harmony. Whereas with Chiron and Aries, maybe there's a situation that comes up on Thursday where you have to own something about yourself that you feel really wobbly about owning. So you could just want peace and harmony in a relationship, but you might have to address an ache that you're feeling. This is a new practice that I'm coming up with for myself, is that when someone hurts my feelings, an old version of me would just shut down and be like, act tough, act like you're not the sensitive person that you are, because I'm an extremely sensitive person. I'm probably more sensitive than most people I know. You wouldn't know it. I hide a lot of it, but I'm very sensitive. Maybe you would know it. Maybe you see right through me. But a new practice I decided to come up with is if someone hurts my feelings, instead of shutting down, I'm going to pause and I'm going to say, ouch, that hurt my feelings. Did you mean to say it in this way? Because this is how I took it. Or did you mean to be disrespectful? Ouch, that hurts my feelings. Did you mean to be disrespectful? Ouch, that hurts my feelings. Did you mean to fill in the blank? And what that does is it helps the other person reflect on what they said and take ownership for what they said. And if it did come from a bad place, they can take responsibility for that. But it also helps us clear the air and helps me stay in my own lane. And so that could be an example on Thursday. Maybe someone acts disrespectful to you. Normally you'd shut down and instead you say, ouch, that hurt. Did you mean to say that? And you actually address it head on. So Friday is when Venus conjuncts Uranus. That's what I was talking about. By the end of the week, there's this breakthrough energy in our relationships, our values, maybe even you understanding how to navigate life and wanting to navigate life from more of the present moment, wanting to return back to nature, wanting to do more in-person things. There's some breakthrough wanting to happen around Taurus themes. What's interesting about Friday is that not only do we have this massive, shocking, disruptive breakthrough energy, and it could be with money, relationships, all those different things, the moon is also in Scorpio. And Scorpio is a highly transformative energy. It's alchemical. But when the moon is there, it can want to hold on to control and hold on to the past and be like, no, you can't take this away from me. And something could come in on Friday that's like, sorry, bitch, we're taking this away. You have no choice. You can't hold on. Like, you have no choice. And so what the breakthrough for some people could be this week is we're building a new earth. I know a lot of people, for safety reasons, want to cling to the old way they do things and are fighting tooth and nail and will do anything to have the universe not take it away from them. Well, Friday could be the day where you have no fucking choice and it gets taken away from you. I'm just saying that's one way it could play out. There's millions of ways astrology can play out all the time, but that's what I'm feeling on Friday, is if something needs to be taken away from you, it's going to be, and it doesn't matter if you're kicking and streaming, the universe shows no mercy. It makes me think about when I've done a 5-MeO DMT. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. And when I did 5-MeO DMT, there's some other plant medicine experiences. I've had this on too, but that's happened. I have gotten to a place where I had no choice but to surrender. I remember I felt like I was dying and I had to think, oh my God, you might have just killed yourself. You might have just gone a little too far. And in that moment, when I think that thought, I then think, well, if you accidentally killed yourself, you're here now, so you got to accept it. And the moment I accept it is the moment the psychedelic experience just becomes so profound. I release like my whole life's work of emotions. I laugh hysterically. I realize everything is okay and will always be okay. And it's like that kind of death grip, like truly a death grip. You're like, that you'd have to let go of on Friday, potentially. But I want you to know, whatever Uranus does, it is always for your highest good. So if it feels abrupt, if it feels abrasive, if it feels like everything's crumbling down, it's ultimately in the long term a good thing. Highly transformative energy on Friday, because also the moon in Scorpio is going to square Pluto in Aquarius. That's intense. that can be trauma forming as much as it is trauma healing. It's definitely a call to let go of control. Surrender, surrender, surrender on Friday. Neptune's going to station retrograde on Friday also, so a lot of the boundaries that have been blurred and a lot of the projections where we might be projecting onto people or they might be projecting onto us with Neptune and Aries is going to start to clear up. I realized over these last few months, Aries rules my 7th house of one-to-one relationships, and I realized all of these ways in which I projected onto relationships and tried to control relationships, just like the story I told in the beginning of this episode. And the fog lifted for me recently where I realized I was the problem. So when Neptune stations retrograde, we're going to start to gain some of that clarity over the course of this retrograde. And then on Saturday, the moon in Scorpio, it's going to be sextiling Mars in Virgo, trining the sun in Cancer, and trining the North Node in Pisces. This is all harmonious aspects. Whatever happens on Friday, Saturday feels like a really nice integration day. It's giving you an opportunity to really surrender into it, expand your feels into it, acclimate to it, come into unconditional love and compassion for yourself around whatever might have breakthrough energy could have happened for you. It's also an energy of get up and go. Maybe with this breakthrough you have on Friday, Saturday is like, and now I know exactly what I need to do moving forward. Let's get shit done. Sunday, Venus in Gemini, because Venus is going into Gemini on Friday as soon as it crosses its final degrees of Taurus. We have that breakthrough energy. So when Venus is in Gemini, Venus is what we love, our values, our relationships. We could want to communicate with people. We could want to have more conversations, more witty banter, especially with its sextiling Neptune and Aries. I really like that. I feel like this is like coming into a new witty sense of self, like a new way of relating with people. Maybe if you're a person who is always shy and awkward, maybe you've been having like breakthroughs these last few months where you've been really coming into yourself. And then maybe Sunday you go to an event and have such lovely, witty conversations with people. It's like you guys could talk all day. It feels like you're building relationships that could last the long term. That's a really lovely energy for Sunday. It's a really lovely energy for digging into new ways of making money and studying new ways of making money, studying new ways of how you want to build up your life moving forward. It just feels like a very adventurous, with friends, maybe learning, maybe communicative, maybe you write all day Sunday. Venus in Gemini loves to write. Maybe you just start like a fucking newspaper and you just start writing like crazy girl, crazy boy. It's really good for ideas. Gemini loves ideas. It loves to think of creative, witty things, and it's not super deep. Gemini is not super deep, but it can be really good about thinking about your future, dreaming about your future, dreaming about what you want to receive in your future and how you want to go about relating to others. And the moon will move into Sagittarius on Sunday. So that's just an expansive energy. It's this energy of the world is your oyster. I want to experience all things. I almost feel like because Uranus and Taurus is still at the 29th degree, there's still that like grounding presence energy. There could be this breakthrough in how you go about thinking about yourself, how you go about thinking, building your life, where you realize I don't need to control every step of the way. I just have to lean into what's fun for me, my curiosity, and I can allow curiosity to guide my life. Curiosity from the present moment. So that is the energy for this week. On July 1st, that is the last day to get higher self-healing codes. That is my self-paced Evolve with Your Astrology course. But if you purchase higher self-healing codes by July 1st, you get Solar Return Magic Accelerator for free, which gives you unlimited solar return readings for the rest of your life. I love both of those programs. I use them every day. So that will be in the show notes below. Let me know how this week shakes up for you. If you're on Substack, especially, give me some comments. Let me know what you're thinking, what's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next podcast.